We are going to continue our coverage of this incident. We'll take you back now to our colleagues at Fox News.
Reported clear skies, visibility of 10 miles, winds sustained from the northwest at 16 miles per hour, gusting to 26 miles per hour. The temperature was 50 degrees, so much warmer than it's been over the past several days in D.C. The audio traffic, the air traffic controller around the time of the crash, a controller is heard asking the helicopter, he says PAT, meaning Priority Air Transport 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? Clearly referencing the passenger aircraft. And then lastly, we should point out that they're telling us that 5342, the American Airlines flight number inbound to Reagan, it was at 400 feet, a speed of about 140 miles per hour when it suffered a rapid loss of altitude over the Potomac. That is according to data from its radio transponder. As you hear that and you look at the video, tell me what you think about this.
Yeah, it appears that the plane was south of the airport, landing north. That makes sense with the winds. And as they're descending, they do look like they're below 400 feet visually with the bridge. And after living in D.C. for 10 years, I'm very familiar with that airport. So that aircraft is descending, and the approach speed's right around 135, 140 knots. The Blackhawk helicopter is a 155-knot aircraft. So it appears it's not quite clear from the video, but what I think is happening is the plane is descending on approach, and the Blackhawk helicopter is behind it. The pilots can't see the aircraft from the cockpit because they can't see behind the aircraft, and the aircraft descended down on top of the Blackhawk helicopter. That's what it appears to me. And from the Blackhawk helicopter standpoint, they're looking out in front of them and not necessarily above them. And so this just one aircraft fell down on the other, or descended down and hit the top of the helicopter. That's what it looks like to me.
And I think, Ken, it's a good point to make. And when you're talking about a Blackhawk helicopter, and we talked about the fact that you have bowling, joint base bowling on the opposite side of the river from Reagan National Airport. And John Scott was pointing out that they often go in, these Blackhawks refuel, and they're back up in the air. When these Blackhawks take off, and we were in one for several days when we were looking for survivors during the hurricane in Houston several years ago. And you know, when these things take off, they kind of lean forward, Ken, right? They're going up, and while they're getting altitude, the back of the helicopter comes up. They just don't go right off. As soon as they leave the base, they get kind of a forward and a nose down position while they start to rise. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment. It looks like the aircraft, though, is straight and level for a while, and they're right at that 400-foot altitude, flying along the Potomac. And the aircraft was coming in for approach and was also letting down. And it's hard to see right above you when flying the helicopter. So it's almost like a perfect storm, if you will, that the two aircraft were right on top of each other.
Yeah, Ken, stand by if you would for us. We want to kind of reset. We're now at the top of the hour. It is 11 o'clock in the east. It's 8 o'clock here in Los Angeles. You're looking live at your screen in Arlington, Virginia. There has been an airline crash just short of Reagan National Airport, DCA, as its call letters are. And this happened at right before or right at 9 o'clock Eastern time this evening. It was a CRJ passenger jet, a CRJ 700 twin-engine jet, and we are told there were 60 passengers on board. We're assuming, again, we do not know this, with the 60 passengers, you have 2 crew members and possibly, likely, a flight attendant, possibly 2 flight attendants. The plane, Flight 5342, was from Wichita, Kansas, and landing at Reagan National Airport when we are told that it was struck by a Blackhawk helicopter. We know there were 3 soldiers on board the Blackhawk helicopter. And we should note that we have been told that 4 people were pulled out of the water. The water is 37 degrees. We do not know the condition of the 4 people who were pulled out. That is all we have heard about any potential survivors. And we do not know if they were on the helicopter helicopter or if they were on the plane. So we have this situation right now where we don't know what's happening inside Reagan National Airport, meaning we don't know how many families arrived there waiting to pick up their loved ones and are now being taken, as is standard operating procedure, into a room and being informed and being guided on what next steps. You can imagine how horrifying that must be. And you look at the actual scenario of what happened. We've been going over this with our experts here, and I want to bring back in. And first of all, I want to read this statement because the president was advised about this. He just issued a statement. Donald Trump says the following: I have been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise.